All right, we can get started as well. Michelle, whenever you're ready. There's still a few people coming on.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope everyone had a lovely Veterans Day and weekend. And as always, we would love if you can please put your name and organization in the chat. We are in for a great discussion today from Andrew Foote. And without belaying any time, I will pass it to Matt Bogosian, our Executive Director, for some updates and announcements. Matt, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Michelle Burris from the Century Foundation, one of our many BFFs. Appreciate you kicking off the calls on these Monday mornings, and welcome everyone. This is AMCC's 30-minute Monday morning national call of regional and national leaders and what we call BFFs, best friends forever, from federal agencies, NGOs, private players, all focused on strengthening American manufacturing from the bottom up. We're free, open source forum. Every week we have really two things rolling out: this 30-minute National Monday call, and then we also have on Fridays, sometimes Saturday, but we mostly Fridays, we send out the AMCC Update newsletter. And these are two consistent weekly tactics that have been operating for years as short, efficient, tools to bind us in common purpose. This work is complex, and you all are leaders in that complex world, and you're busy, and we respect that. But we've got to stay together, connected with a framework that we co-create, and that's the journey we're on. As Michelle said, today is a presentation day. Some days we have round robins or whatever with regional leaders and BFFs, but today is a presentation day. And like she said, we're lucky to have Andrew Foote, who's the principal economist at the U.S. Census Bureau. And I'm going to turn to you here in a minute, Andrew, but I'm going to highlight a few things from the AMCC update before we get started here. And there's a lot in there. We were just talking about before the call. David Van Sicklen, our operations director, does the draft of that, and then we finalize it on Friday. Thanks to you, we get a lot of input from you all to inform what goes into the AMCC update, and a lot of players are involved in synthesizing this around the kind of the three lenses that we look through in doing this work. One of the things in the AMCC update is the Small Business Administration. They announced their 2023 Build to Scale grantees, and they have a map on their webpage, so you can check that out. David can drop that link into the chat also here. Same program, right? If there are awardees in your region, check it out. Who is it? Look at the content of what they're doing, how they might add mutual value to multiple efforts that you're involved in. Lots of other agency, manufacturing related initiatives could be in your area. How do they weave together? SBA also has this Innovation Ecosystem Summit. It's a virtual 2-day thing in December to kind of do what we're doing, build a national innovation ecosystem. So excited to have SBA as a full-throated partner in the AMCC collaborative, building a manufacturing strength from the bottom up. So that's cool. That's in the AMCC update, as is a Department of Transportation announcement of $650 million or so to fund 41 improvement projects across the country. So we talked about the three lenses we look through. One of those is what manufacturing industries. Of course, transportation is one of those key priority manufacturing industries, and so this goes right at it. And then for kind of the big six elements of a rising manufacturing ecosystem, strong infrastructure and supply chains are critical, and that's where these Department of Transportation interventions in 41 ports around the country have relevance. So if you're in one of these port regions, begs the same question, how can this new, DOT financial intervention be leveraged with other manufacturing related initiatives in your region? So Very cool. There's in the AMCC update, there's a U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics chart. We like charts and maps here, but they talk about occupational openings in manufacturing careers projected out to 2032, which is, what do the hockey types say? We want to be skating to where the puck is going to be, and I think this is set of data points that matter to what you do in kind of planning and implementing your regional innovations. So anyway, there's lots in there. For our government BFFs, there's an article in there from DOE talking about ARPA and ARPA-E and innovative governmental tactics by people in government. I was in government for a lot of years, and those bureaucracies have long legacies and are hard to change and spur innovation in many respects. And this gets at some of the kind of best practices for government innovation. So that's a pretty cool article. So anyway, check out the AMCC update. There's lots in there, and now I want to turn to our speaker, Andrew Foote. I already introduced you, but we're excited to meet with you, Andrew, and have a continuing relationship with you and the Census Bureau, because AMCC, we're a community of practice. We partner with the federal government. We're all dedicated to evidence-based policymaking, and we have all of these silos of super important data and evidence that we're on this journey to weave it together in a more usable fashion so that regional leaders can strengthen their manufacturing ecosystem. So David and I got introduced to Andrew. We've had some calls. Andrew's going to join us on our manufacturing community ecosystem metrics call later on today too. Delighted to have you on here and talk a little bit about your work and how it's relevant to strengthening manufacturing regions around the country. Andrew?
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. I'm going to share my screen now. So I'm going to quickly go through some slides that are going to describe the data that we create at the Census Bureau. So this is talking about detailed workforce data. So lots of the things we know about the workforce, especially from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is based on surveys. But that is not that's not what we do at in my group at Census. We use administrative data from the workforce and specifically on jobs, which is a link between employers and employees. And so that the LEHD program, which stands for Longitudinal Employer Household Dynamics Program, it's an innovative data suite at Census, and it uses administrative data from the unemployment insurance wage records to produce new statistics. And importantly, because they're not surveys, this isn't an additional burden on respondents or anything like that. We know, because we have this link between an employer and an employee, and then we also know lots of information about the employers and lots of information about the employees, we can create very detailed statistics that you can cross by race and ethnicity, that you can cross by age, as well as by firm characteristics such as industry, which is, of course, the thing that we're going to focus on today, because we're this community of practice is specifically focused on manufacturing, right? So there are a number of data products that we have. The flagship product that the LEHD group has created is called the quarterly workforce indicators. And so this is a useful table that hopefully in the future will be a reference for you as you're trying to use the data products that we have. So if you want something about employment, hires, separations, turnover, earnings, by these detailed characteristics, and especially at a quarterly level, the quarterly workforce indicators is the best data product for you. There are a number of indicators that we publish quarterly. So every quarter, there's about 150 million jobs in the US, and those are all tabulated in this data product. Loads is a data product that is, if you're interested in geographies that are below the county level, so if you're very interested in sort of commuting patterns from one specific area to another specific area, or where people are working in a specific area, you can use loads. We're not going to talk about that specific data product today, but there are links later on so you can learn even more about that data product. Job to job flows is interested specifically about transitions between jobs. So because we have this longitudinal job history of individuals starting before 2000 on to the present time, what we can see is we can see people switching from one job to another job, and the characteristics of the employers at the origin job and the destination job. So we can answer questions like, when people move into manufacturing, what type of industries did they come from? And so that's worker characteristics by firm characteristics. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll show you an example of using job to job flows. Two new, relatively new data products that we have also are the post-secondary employment outcomes, which is PSEO. That's labor market outcomes for at the degree program level for colleges and universities. You can learn more about that on our website. And then VEO, which is the veteran employment outcomes. Right now, it just includes Army veterans, but in the future, it will include all the branches of the service. We just received more data from the Department of Defense, so we could expand that data product. This is purely for your future reference, but if you're interested in how to use the data and how to get to it, the first column is the visualizations that we've built for each of the products, and then there's other ways that you can download the raw CSV files so that you could actually do other analysis that you can't do inside the visualizations. And then quarterly workforce indicators and PSEO are both in the API, and so if you want to live query them, you can do that, and then you don't have to worry if we update them. You don't have to change your access point. You can also learn a lot more. There's LED webinars, which is the larger partnership that we're a part of, that are every month. I'm actually giving one later this week, specifically about PSEO. And then you can also learn more. We have trainings every year at the conference that we have that go through each of the data tools. And so you can go, we have all of those recorded on the virtual conference. And so that link there is for the website. So I'm going to switch over now to actually looking at the data tools. So we're going to start first with quarterly workforce indicators. And here, what I'm going to focus on is I'm going to look at the state of Kentucky. I'm going to focus specifically on Louisville, which is Jefferson County. So if we subset here, we can see, we can go to Jefferson County, which is down here. Of course, I could have typed it in here and it would have been a little faster. And then I'm going to look specifically at NAICS sectors. So you can see here all of the NAICS sectors. We're going to focus just on manufacturing, just so it's a little easier for us to see everything. So this is just showing the employment in manufacturing for quarter two across all of the years that we have for Kentucky, for Louisville specifically. So you can see here there was a dip during the Great Recession, and then it's generally recovered and then been relatively flat. The interesting thing is you could actually go into the NAICS 3 sector. So if you're interested not just in the 2-digit, but looking more specifically, you can see all of the subsectors here. And then I'm gonna uncheck this and go down so we can just look at the manufacturing ones. And so we're gonna choose a number of manufacturing ones, and then we're gonna focus on 335 and 336 as well, which is electrical equipment and appliance and component manufacturing, and then transportation equipment manufacturing. And you can see basically in the last 10 years, most of the growth in manufacturing employment in Louisville has been driven by transportation equipment manufacturing, and then also electrical equipment and appliance manufacturing. My friend works, he makes dishwashers or helps people make dishwashers in Louisville. And so this is why I chose this example, but you can sort of see that this is being driven by these two industries, and then most of the other industries are sort of flat or declining in Louisville, which I think is particularly interesting. And then you can also, one thing you can focus on is if you're interested in for these specific industry subsectors, 335 and 336. What does the age profile look like for these? How are they growing? So you can see here we could switch, instead of looking at firm characteristics such as the industry, we can switch to looking at the age of the workers. And then over here we can actually choose the three digits subsector and choose 335 and 336 here. So we're just looking at the employment counts for these workers, and you can see that there's actually pretty strong growth in this area in the 55 to 64 age category, as well as the 25 to 34-year-old category. You can see this a little easier if we looked at it by bar chart. So you could compare sort of where we started in 2001, quarter two, which is this far left one. If we go all the way to the end, you'll sort of see that this red bar goes up a lot compared to the other ones. And so there's this large growth in sort of the older workers in manufacturing, specifically in these industry subsectors, which I think is interesting. So you can also, if you're interested in this analysis and you say, wow, I want to share this, you could actually download the data. So you could click get data and you could download the Excel file or it as a CSV, as a zip file. Or you could download the specific chart or map that you created, so that you could share it with people in your organization or across organizations. So that's one way that you can use the data product. There's plenty of other ways, but we're going to switch over also so that we have some time. We're going to switch over to the job-to-job flows, which is, of course, learning characteristics about the origin and destination firm characteristics. And so here we're going to look at hires. So we're going to focus on people that are getting hired. And the geography levels for job-to-job flows are the state level and then also the metro area level. So we're going to focus on Louisville here again. So we're going to scroll all the way down to Louisville, which is, if I'm good at the alphabet, we'll get there very soon. There we go. And then we're going to focus again specifically on people that are getting hired into manufacturing. And then we can look at the industries. We can choose lots of things, which states they're coming from, which metro areas, but then also which industries they're coming from. And we're going to look at what industries these people are coming from. And so you can see here, so this is for the most recent quarter of data, which is quarter two, 2022, quarter three. You can see that there's a large share of workers that are getting hired into manufacturing that are coming from other manufacturing employers. But there's also this large share in administrative. So this is administrative. I'm going to get the exact one. It's an administrative support and waste management and remediation services. So this ends up being a really large share of transitions into and out of manufacturing employment. And the reason for that is that's the temp agencies are included in that NAICS sector. And so you have this large, basically, you can see both for manufacturing and also for warehousing, the way that they adjust their employment a lot of the time is not actually by hiring their own workers, but by hiring from temp agencies that hire in, that contract out to the manufacturing, which I think is just a fascinating workforce study, but something that you wouldn't really be able to spot if it weren't for data like this that get at really detailed levels. So if you're also interested, not just in what this looks like over time, but you could look at it over time. And so you could compare for all of these NAICS sectors, sort of which ones are driving hiring into manufacturing. You can see manufacturing is the highest for most of the time, but like I said, administrative support and waste management and remediation is the next largest NAICS sector. Another interesting thing that you can do here is we're going to focus on the we're gonna go to hires into manufacturing, and then we're going to look at the count indicators. This is actually a very interesting way to think about this, but I'm going to unselect some of these. So if we look at hires, we can look at separations. We can also look at job to job hires, which is where we don't see a gap in the earnings. And then I'm also going to look at job to job hires where there's a brief non-employment spell where we think that they were non-employed for some amount of time. And then also hires from non-employment and separations from non-employment, which is where we see them not earning anything and then getting hired, or separating and not getting anything. And you can see here, so one of the interesting stories here is that in 2020, right when COVID hits, what you can see is for manufacturers, it's not that separations changed, it's not that layoffs increased a lot, but actually that there was just no hiring during that period. So they basically slowed down hiring a lot, and then once everything ramped up, they go up significantly, and then follow sort of a stable path of hiring after that. But that separations sort of stayed stable the entire time. So there was consistent separations, but the dip in employment overall in manufacturing in Louisville was mostly driven by a lack of hiring while they were still losing workers through separations. And so that's something that you can figure out with this data as well. And then if we were also interested, if we go back to job flows, or so one other thing we might be interested in, and I'm gonna go back to the guided entry because it'll be easier to get there, and then I'll be quiet and if there's any questions. So if we go here and we look at separations from manufacturing, so we're going to look at where people are actually going. So if they are getting separated from manufacturing, which states are they going to? And so you could actually see on a map sort of which states are the most common. So lots of them are getting separated and staying in Kentucky. The next largest state is Indiana. If you look at the bar chart, you'll sort of see those swamp everything. But there's some other states. Florida is another one that people are moving to. And so there's lots of ways you can do this, and you'll notice we haven't even touched any of the other worker characteristics that we could filter on, but you could sort of see of those people going into manufacturing, like what is the age profile of those individuals as opposed to the stable employment, the people that have been there the whole time. And so there's lots that you can do with these data tools that I cannot possibly exhaust, even maybe another hour. But that's why I sort of provided all of those links so that you can learn how to use the tools. So I will pause here for questions, and then I'll stop sharing this screen, but I'm going to share, I'm going to go back to the slides so that you can remember where to learn more. And then also note that the best way to contact us with questions is with these email addresses. Those go specifically to specific mailboxes. Some of them get fielded by myself, but there's an entire data visualization team that handles most of them, and then also reaches out to the economists on staff for specific questions. So thank you so much, and I will stop here.
Andrew, awesome. So glad to have you. I think you can all see why we're so psyched to have Andrew a part of our merry band, and he'll be joining us later today for our manufacturing community ecosystem metrics call, which is really, Andrew, this is getting right at our earlier conversation, about how you've got all these tools out there. How do they weave together, for different use cases by stakeholders, and I'm thinking maybe this is just an opening question, like you guys are, coming up with new tools and, what's the audience that you're focusing on, like economic, maybe multiple audiences, right? In terms of who's going to use it, economic developers, like leaders of these regions around here that are getting these federal program interventions from all these different agencies, researchers, I suspect. Tell us a little bit about that. And
yeah, so we partner very closely with the state partners that we actually get the data with from. Because they are interested in lots of manufacturing workforce dynamics more generally that they can't do with just one state of data. So the problem is if you just have your own state unemployment insurance wage records, you can't answer questions about who's coming from other states because you don't have those wage records, so you don't know where these people are coming from. These people that are getting jobs in your state are leaving your state, and they don't show up in your data. And so there's we partner closely with them, but then also we see a lot of use cases for economic development. If you see in the previous slide, which is here, all of the LED webinars, most of those are outside people, not census people, that are presenting about the ways that they used the data for their economic development question that they had. And so those are great use cases to look at in terms of understanding how other people use the data and how you could potentially use the data.
There's a couple of questions that are coming in, Andrew. One is about, lots of these convenings are happening. Do you guys have, census folks going out to some of these manufacturing conferences and describing these tools? Because one of the big six, of course, is workforce, and this is getting right
Sure.
at, kind of evaluating the smarter tactics on workforce. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say we're working on that, and we're trying to sort of track those. This area is sort of historically outside of what we've looked at because we've just been so busy making the tools. But now, sort of the push for the next couple of years is sort of expanding the use of it, especially by sort of showing people how it could be used. So expect us to try to be getting to those conferences. And if you have some, email me and let me know, because
Awesome.
we have a bad job tracking all that.
No, well, yeah, it takes a team, it takes a village to work that out. We're your partners in doing that. Dana, you got your hand up?
Yes, Andrew, I have a question. You were showing us live, what the system can do, and you were showing us that the amount of jobs, that the hiring went way up after the 2020, and then you were also showing us that the number of people that were unemployed that were getting the jobs. Are you able to show us who is in manufacturing who does not have a job, so that we would be able to, work on finding more workforce for there? And can you tell us if any of those people who are unemployed are receiving transfer payments from federal government that keeps them from getting a job?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we can't say here are the people that used to be working in manufacturing but are unemployed, or we refer to them as non-employed because we're not sure whether they have jobs or don't have jobs, because they could be self-employed at the time and not show up in our data but still be earning positive income. What I will say is, for us, the manufacturing is a characteristic of the employer, and so we can't say whether those people are manufacturing workers. We say they work in manufacturing, which is a little bit of a weird distinction to think about. So it's hard to think. It's not necessarily true that our data could be used to sort of find the missing manufacturing workforce. We could show you where, especially in job-to-job flows, where people have historically been coming from that have been getting hired into manufacturing. And so, what you'll notice in the run-up during the Great Resignation, which is where everyone was sort of upgrading their job quality, lots of people are coming into manufacturing from the service sector, from the accommodation and food services, because those are lower quality jobs and they're upgrading into these manufacturing jobs. So it's not necessarily that we're missing manufacturing workers so much as manufacturing is pulling from this lower quality job area into manufacturing, which is a much higher quality job overall.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you. And there's some more questions. We have your direct contact info, so we can share that. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. You can also
great.
Google me, Andrew Foote Economics. I think I'm probably the first result just because I have a weird last name, so it helps.
Oh, sure. Compared to who? Yeah, right. Yeah. This is great, you guys. We're at the top of the hour, and we keep this to 30 minutes. We so appreciate you, Andrew. Looking forward to talking with you later today about the Manufacturing Community Ecosystem Metrics project that you all are aware of. Thank you so much. Next week, next Monday, we're going to have a leader of one of our manufacturing institutes, ARM, the Robotics Institute, Susie Teal will be on talking about their institute and how we can embed that super important technology into the manufacturing ecosystem in regions across the country. So for all of us here at AMCC, thank you so much. Michelle, you want to close it out?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. We look forward to seeing you the same time on Monday, November 20th. And thank you so much, Andrew, for the presentation. Hope everyone has a good week, and we'll see you back next Monday. Thank you, everyone.
Right, see you.
Bye-bye.